Ethan's ship cut through the cold darkness of space like a silent arrow. He had been traveling for weeks on the outer rim of the galaxy, surveying mining planets for trade resources. Most of these planets were lifeless, rocky outposts with only automated factories and the occasional scavenger ship. But something had drawn him to a small, overlooked planet on the edge of a known star system. Reports suggested strange activity in the southern mining zone, slavery raids, or so the rumors said, but nothing concrete. Ethan didn't usually meddle in rumors, but there was something about this one that made him pause. He landed his ship on a rocky plateau just beyond the mining camps. Dust swirled around the landing gears as he stepped out into the alien sun. The air was thin but breathable, tinged with a metallic scent. In the distance, he could see the sprawling camps, crude buildings patched together from scrap metal. The miners, mostly aliens from various systems, moved like shadows, their faces gaunt, bodies weary. They barely noticed him. Ethan's heart tightened. Something wasn't right here. He had been traveling through dangerous sectors for years, but what he saw in the camps made him stop cold. He noticed cages in the corners, some covered with metal sheets. The prisoners inside moved slowly, their limbs chained, eyes hollow. The guards patrolled with weapons that glinted in the sun, their posture strict and cruel. Slavery was illegal under most interstellar laws, yet here it thrived in the shadows. Ethan felt a fire of anger rise in his chest. He couldn't turn away. Not this time. Ethan waited until nightfall. Darkness here was absolute, broken only by dim lamps on the camp towers. He studied the guards' patterns carefully. They walked in slow, predictable loops, speaking little to each other. In the shadows, he could see a small figure huddled behind a stack of crates. A girl no more than 14 cycles old by human standards, trembling but alert. Her skin was pale green with subtle patterns that shimmered faintly in the low light. She watched the guards as if memorizing their every move. Ethan's pulse quickened. She was intelligent, alert, and clearly desperate. He crept closer, careful not to make a sound. "Hey," he whispered softly, hoping she could hear him. Her head snapped up, eyes wide. She darted behind the crates again. Who are you?" she whispered back, her voice trembling. "I'm here to help," Ethan said. "I've come to get you out." She hesitated, fear mixed with disbelief in her eyes. You can't. They will kill anyone who tries to help me." "I'm not afraid," Ethan replied. "But you need to trust me." For a long moment, she said nothing. Then cautiously, she nodded. Ethan motioned for her to follow him. Together, they slipped through the shadows, avoiding the guards. He had memorized the patrol routes, and every movement was calculated. The girl, whom he now learned was named Leora, moved quietly beside him, her eyes alert, her small hands gripping a piece of scrap metal that could serve as a weapon. They reached the perimeter of the camp, where a narrow gorge provided a possible escape route. Ethan signaled for Leora to climb down first. She hesitated, looking back at the camp, but finally slid carefully into the shadows below. Ethan followed, his ship just a few kilometers away, hidden among the rocky hills. As they ran, Leora asked, "Why are you helping me? No human has ever cared about slaves like me." Ethan glanced at her, a soft smile on his face despite the tension. "Because it's the right thing to do. And because no one deserves to live like this." She studied him closely, her green eyes reflecting a mixture of curiosity and doubt. "You really mean that?" "I do," he said simply. "Now keep moving." The terrain was rough, but Ethan's experience as an explorer served him well. He led her through hidden paths and abandoned tunnels, evading patrol drones that scanned for movement. Every step was tense. Every sound could betray them. Leora stayed close, her small frame surprisingly resilient. "You're stronger than you look," she said quietly, almost admiringly. Ethan chuckled. "Years of traveling alone teaches you a few tricks." Hours passed, and the camp became a distant memory behind them. They finally reached the edge of a canyon where Ethan had hidden his ship. The small craft was battered from travel but functional, gleaming faintly under the starlight. He opened the ramp and Leora climbed in first, eyes wide with awe. She had never seen a human ship up close, let alone one like this. "Hold on," Ethan said, activating the engines. The ship lifted off smoothly, gliding over the rocky surface. Behind them, the camp lights became tiny sparks, fading into darkness. Once they were safely above the atmosphere, Leora finally relaxed. I don't know how to thank you," she said softly. "You don't have to," Ethan replied. "Just tell me your story. How did you end up there?" Her face darkened. I don't know. I remember a palace, teachers, and my parents. But then, it all went wrong. I was taken, and they said I had to work to survive. I don't know who to trust anymore. Ethan listened carefully, realizing that her memories were fragmented but detailed in a way that suggested something extraordinary. We'll figure it out, he said. For now, you're safe with me. For the first time in cycles, Leora allowed herself to relax. She leaned back, watching the stars through the small viewport. I never imagined anyone would risk their life for me, she whispered. Ethan looked at her, thoughtful. Humans have a way of surprising people. We fight for what's right even when it's dangerous. Her eyes widened slightly, a flicker of something like hope crossing her face. You are different from others. You're not like the people who captured me. I guess you could say that, Ethan said. But enough talk for now. Let's get you somewhere safe. Then we can figure out the rest. The journey was long, and the outer rim was filled with dangers, pirates, rogue miners, and unpredictable space storms. Ethan navigated through asteroid belts, using every skill he had learned over years of exploration. Leora watched him work, asking questions about ships, engines, and navigation. Her curiosity was sharp, and she absorbed every detail. Ethan began to notice that she had a mind trained for problem-solving, a cleverness that was unusual for someone of her age and background. By the time they reached a small neutral space station, they were exhausted but safe. Ethan docked quietly, keeping the ship hidden from prying eyes. We'll rest here for a while, he said. No one will know we're here. Leora looked around the station, marveling at the bustling market and the variety of alien species moving about. I've never seen so many different people, she whispered. Space is full of surprises, Ethan said, and sometimes people can be surprisingly good. As they found a secluded room to rest, Ethan thought about what he had learned during their escape. Leora was not an ordinary girl. She had knowledge, intelligence, and a sense of strategy unusual for someone who had been enslaved. He suspected there was more to her story than she realized, and he knew that their journey had only just begun. For the first time, Leora allowed herself to sleep without fear, trusting that Ethan would protect her. And for the first time in a long time, Ethan felt a spark of something greater than mere survival, a sense that helping this girl might change not only her life, but the fate of many others. As the stars glittered outside the viewport, Ethan quietly made a promise to himself. He would protect her no matter what dangers lay ahead. Because sometimes, a single act of courage could ripple through the galaxy in ways no one could predict. The small space station was alive with activity, but Ethan and Leora kept to themselves. They found a quiet corner in a less crowded sector, where no one would ask questions. Leora had never been in a place like this before. The mixture of alien species, the bright lights of market stalls, and the low hum of spacecraft engines created a strange, almost magical atmosphere. For a moment, she forgot the fear and pain of her past, replaced by curiosity and wonder. Ethan watched her closely. We can rest here, but we can't stay long. The Empire won't stop looking for you, he said gently. She shivered. The Empire? I don't understand. They said my parents. They said I had no place in their world. Why would they care about me now? Ethan sighed. I don't know all the details yet, but I do know one thing. Someone powerful wants you gone. That's why you were enslaved in the first place. Leora looked down at her hands. I'm not brave. I just want to survive. You are brave, Ethan said firmly. You survived all this, and surviving is just the first step. What comes next is about choices. We choose to fight or run, and right now I think we need to do both. For the next few days, Ethan and Leora stayed hidden on the station. Ethan used the time to repair his ship and stock supplies for the journey ahead. Leora explored in small, cautious ways, learning about human technology and the diversity of alien life. She was fascinated by the mechanical tools Ethan used, the maps he studied, and the screens that showed distant parts of space. Ethan noticed her intelligence and sharp observation skills. You pick up fast, he remarked one day. I had to, Leora replied quietly. If I didn't, I wouldn't have survived. Ethan nodded, impressed. He realized that Leora had knowledge that could only come from someone trained in the ways of the elite. Her words, her movements, even her memory of the palace hinted at a life far different from that of an ordinary slave. He decided not to press her too much yet. Timing was important. She needed to trust him fully before revealing more. On the fourth day, as they prepared to leave the station, alarms suddenly blared across the sector. Lights flashed red. Ethan froze. Leora's eyes widened. "What's happening?" she asked, fear gripping her voice. Ethan grabbed her hand and pulled her toward the ship. "No time to explain. We're leaving, now." Outside, patrol ships swarmed the station. Imperial markings gleamed on their hulls. The Empire had tracked them. Ethan ran to his ship, dodging security drones, and Leora followed closely. He fired up the engines just as a patrol ship moved to intercept. "Hold on," Ethan shouted, lifting the ship off the docking platform. The engines roared, shaking the ship as it lifted into space. Red warning lights flashed inside the cockpit. Leora clutched the railing, her knuckles white, but her eyes were determined. Ethan maneuvered through the station's defense turrets with precision, dodging laser fire. The patrol ship followed, relentless. He pushed the ship to its limits, weaving between asteroids and abandoned cargo vessels. "Do you know how to handle a ship like this?" he asked. I can try," Leora said, her hands trembling as she studied the controls. "Good. You'll need it," Ethan replied. He guided her to a secondary console. "I'll show you. Keep your hands steady and follow my lead." For the next hour, they danced through the chaos of space. Leora's instincts surprised Ethan. She quickly understood the ship's movements, predicting turns and reacting to the patrol's attacks. Together, they evaded capture. By the time the sector's defense drones lost track of them, they were far into uncharted space. Ethan exhaled deeply, leaning back in his seat. "Not bad for your first time," Leora smiled faintly. I learned quickly. I had to." As they set a course for a distant neutral planet, Ethan realized that Leora's skills were unusual. She was more than just a survivor. She had a natural talent for strategy and problem-solving. The pieces began to form a picture in his mind, though he didn't yet have all the answers. During the journey, Leora began to speak more about her past. "I remember my parents. I think they wanted to protect me. They taught me things I don't fully understand yet. They said I had to be careful even if I didn't know why." "What kind of things?" Ethan asked. "About politics, about technology, about the Empire itself," she said, her voice low. "I remember maps, names, rules, things slaves wouldn't normally know." Ethan's heart skipped a beat. "Maps? Rules? You mean someone trained you?" Leora nodded. "Yes, but they took me away before I could finish learning. Then, everything changed." She looked down, lost in thought. "I've always felt different from others, but I never knew why." Ethan placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "You're different because you're special. I don't know the details yet, but I'll find out. And we'll make sure no one can hurt you again." Leora's eyes softened, and for the first time in cycles, she felt safe. She trusted Ethan, even though they had only known each other for a short time. There was something in his calm, confident presence that made her believe in hope. Days passed in relative peace as they traveled through asteroid fields and abandoned sectors. Ethan taught Leora about navigation, engines, and basic survival skills in space. She absorbed every lesson quickly, eager to learn, but the sense of danger never fully left them. The Empire was still searching, and Leora's fragmented memories hinted at a power she did not yet understand. One night, as they rested in the ship's cabin, Leora asked, "Ethan, do you think I could be more than a slave? Could I matter in the galaxy?" "You already do," Ethan said softly. "You've survived where others would have failed. You faced danger, fear, and betrayal, and you're still here. That alone matters. But I think you're going to change more than just your own life. You're going to change the lives of many." Leora looked at him, eyes wide. "Change? How?" Ethan hesitated. "I don't know yet. But whatever happens, I'll be here with you. You're not alone anymore." For the first time in years, Leora felt hope, a fragile but growing spark. She had been taken from everything she knew, enslaved and forced to hide her identity. But now, with Ethan by her side, she could imagine a future where she was free, where she could learn, grow, and perhaps reclaim something she had lost. Their journey was far from over. The galaxy was vast and the Empire's reach was long. But for the first time, they were not running blindly. They were running together, armed with skill, courage, and trust. As they approached the edge of a dense asteroid field, Ethan plotted a new course. "We'll need to stay careful from here on. The Empire may have spies in unexpected places. I'm ready, Leora said, her voice steady. I won't let them catch me again. Ethan smiled, impressed by her courage. Good, that's the spirit. And remember, sometimes the best way to survive isn't just hiding, it's thinking ahead, using your mind and knowing when to act. She nodded, absorbing every word. She had survived as a slave, but now she was learning to survive as herself, as someone who mattered. And for the first time, she felt like the galaxy might be big enough to hold her, big enough to give her a chance to reclaim what she had lost. Outside the viewport, the stars stretched endlessly, a reminder of the freedom and danger that lay ahead. Inside the small cabin, a fragile partnership was growing stronger. Ethan, the human who had risked everything to rescue a girl, and Leora, the girl who carried a secret that could shake the galaxy. The journey ahead would be perilous. But together they had a chance, not just to survive, but to fight back, to learn, and perhaps to change the course of fate itself. And for Leora, that was the first taste of hope she had felt in a lifetime. Ethan and Leora drifted through the black expanse of space in silence. The hum of the ship's engines was the only sound in the cabin. Both were lost in thought. The danger from the Empire still hung over them like a shadow, but something had shifted. Leora's memories, once fragmented and confusing, were beginning to form a clearer picture. Pieces of her past surfaced in dreams, in fleeting moments, and even in her instincts. One evening, as the ship glided near a small, uncharted planet, Leora sat staring at the stars. Ethan, she said softly, I think I might know who I am. Ethan turned from the navigation console, curious. What do you mean? Her small hands trembled as she traced patterns in the air. I remember. A palace, people in fine clothes, teachers who explained things I didn't understand yet. Maps of the stars, names of planets, rules of the Empire. She paused, her voice barely above a whisper. I think I might not just be any slave. I think I might belong to the ruling family. Ethan froze. He had suspected something extraordinary, but her words confirmed it. He studied her carefully. You mean you could be the heir to the Empire? Leora nodded slowly, fear and disbelief in her eyes. I don't know. It sounds impossible. But my memories, they keep coming back. I remember being important, but then everything was taken from me. I was hidden, enslaved, and I survived without knowing why. Ethan sat beside her, placing a steadying hand on her shoulder. If what you say is true, then this changes everything. The Empire isn't just after you, they're after the future of the galaxy. You could be the key to everything. Leora's eyes filled with tears. I don't want that. I don't want power or a throne or enemies. I just want to live in peace. Ethan squeezed her shoulder gently. I know, but peace might not come easily. The Empire won't forget about you. They will try to capture you, to control you, or worse. But you're not alone anymore. We'll face this together. She took a deep breath, trying to calm her racing thoughts. Together? She repeated, the words strange yet comforting on her lips. Ethan turned back to the navigation console. We need to stay smart. We need allies. And we need a place to hide while we figure out your true identity. Do you remember anyone you can trust? Any friends, teachers, or family? Leora shook her head. I don't know. Everyone I knew is gone, or so they said. Maybe some are still alive, but I don't know how to find them. Ethan nodded. Then we'll make our own way. We'll find someone who can help. And we'll keep moving. The Empire's fleet could find us at any moment. As they charted a course toward a distant neutral sector, Ethan noticed Leora studying the ship's controls again. You've learned a lot in just a few cycles, he said with a hint of admiration. I have to, Leora replied. I can't rely on anyone else. Not anymore. Her skills were remarkable. She could pilot, repair, and even operate the ship's defense systems with surprising accuracy. Ethan realized that this girl, once enslaved and powerless, had the mind and instincts of a leader. She was resourceful, intelligent, and quick to act, qualities that would make her formidable if she could reclaim her place in the galaxy. Several cycles into their journey, a warning signal flashed on the ship's console. Ethan's stomach tightened. Imperial fleet nearby. They must have traced us through the last system. Leora's eyes widened. What do we do? Ethan's hands moved quickly over the controls. We'll evade them. I have a plan. The ship dove into an asteroid belt, weaving through massive rocks and debris. The Imperial ships followed, firing lasers and launching small intercept drones. Ethan maneuvered with precision, but he knew this would be difficult. "Stay calm," he said, glancing at Leora. "You've got to trust your instincts." Leora nodded and gripped the console. For the first time, she felt her fear transform into focus. She could feel the rhythm of the ship, anticipate movements, and assist Ethan in evasive maneuvers. Together, they moved like a single unit, human and alien working in harmony. The chase lasted for hours. Each turn, each dive, and each calculation could mean life or death. Finally, Ethan found a narrow tunnel among the asteroids, too small for the Imperial ships to follow. "Hold on," he shouted as he plunged the ship into the tunnel. The pursuing ships tried to follow but were too large. One slammed into a massive rock and exploded in a flash of fire. Ethan exhaled, relief flooding him. Leora smiled faintly, her hands still gripping the controls. "We did it," she whispered. Ethan nodded. "For now, but we can't let our guard down. They'll come back." Later, as they rested in the cabin, Leora opened up more about her memories. "I remember a ceremony," she said softly. "People were gathered in a grand hall. There were lights and music. I was supposed to be part of something important. I don't remember everything, but I remember being chosen." Ethan leaned forward, intrigued. "Chosen for what?" "I don't know," she admitted. "But I think it had to do with the Empire. I remember maps, positions, even rules that I shouldn't have known as a child. They wanted me to learn, to lead, maybe even to rule one day." Ethan studied her carefully. "If that's true, then you are more than just someone being hunted. You are a symbol, Leora, and people will rally around you once they know you survived." Her eyes filled with doubt. "I'm just a girl. How can I lead? I don't even know who I am fully." "You've survived worse than most adults," Ethan said gently, "and survival is the first lesson of leadership. You already have courage, intelligence, and skill. All you need now is guidance, and I'll be here to help you every step of the way." Leora's face softened, the fear in her eyes mixing with a small spark of hope. For the first time, she allowed herself to imagine that maybe she could be more than a survivor. Maybe she could reclaim the future that was stolen from her. Ethan knew that the road ahead would be dangerous. The Empire would not stop searching for Leora, and any misstep could cost them both their lives. But he also knew something important. Humanity had a unique ability to think, adapt, and fight in ways no one expected. That ingenuity would be their greatest weapon. As they prepared for the next leg of their journey, Ethan mapped a course toward a hidden system rumored to house ancient archives. "If your memories are true, Leora, the answers may be there," he explained. "We might find proof of who you really are, and maybe even allies who remember your family." Leora nodded, a determined look on her face. "Then let's go." "I need to know. I need to find the truth." Ethan smiled faintly. "Good. Curiosity and courage. That's what keeps people alive. And sometimes it changes the galaxy." The ship glided silently through the void, stars streaking past the viewport. Leora stood by the console, her mind racing with possibilities. She was no longer just a girl running from danger. She was someone important, someone with a destiny, even if she didn't yet understand it fully. For Ethan, watching her grow stronger with every passing cycle was inspiring. He had rescued her from a life of fear, but now she was teaching him a different kind of lesson: the resilience of those who refuse to be broken, even in the face of overwhelming power. Their journey had transformed from escape to discovery. Leora's memories were fragments of a larger truth, a truth that could shake the Empire to its core. And as they approached the hidden system, both knew that the answers they sought might bring even greater danger, but also the chance to change everything. Together, human and alien, they drifted toward a destiny neither fully understood. And for the first time in cycles, hope was not just a dream, it was a path forward. Ethan and Leora's journey through uncharted space was tense. The memory of the Imperial fleet chasing them still lingered, and every distant blip on their sensors made Ethan's stomach tighten. Leora sat beside him, studying star charts and navigation maps, her mind sharp, trying to memorize every route and anomaly that could be useful. The hidden system they were approaching promised information, archives that might explain her past, but it was risky. The Empire would not have abandoned their search. "This sector is quiet." "Too quiet," Ethan muttered, eyes scanning the displays. "There shouldn't be no ships this close, and yet I feel them watching us." Leora frowned, gripping the console. "I can feel it too." like a shadow moving just beyond our sensors. Ethan nodded. Good instincts. We'll need every advantage when the Empire shows up. Stay sharp. As they entered the hidden system, the massive asteroid field surrounding the central planet made navigation dangerous. Ethan's hands flew over the controls, weaving the ship through jagged rocks and debris. Leora assisted, monitoring sensors and alerting him to moving objects. The synergy between them was growing. They were no longer simply traveler and rescued. They were a team. Suddenly, a shadow crossed the viewport. A sleek Imperial cruiser emerged from the edge of the asteroid field. Its black hull gleamed ominously in the dim light of the distant star. Leora gasped. They found us, Ethan said, his voice tight but controlled. Prepare for evasive maneuvers. We can't let them catch us here. Leora gripped the console. What do we do? Ethan smiled faintly, though tension tightened his jaw. We fight smart, not harder. The Imperial cruiser fired a warning shot, a blazing laser that scorched the asteroid nearby. Ethan twisted the controls, dodging with precision. Leora worked the secondary systems, activating shields and dispersing decoy signals. The two of them moved as one, human ingenuity and alien instinct combining in perfect rhythm. The cruiser followed relentlessly, firing intercept drones. Ethan launched them with improvised energy pulses, using the asteroids as cover. Leora calculated trajectories and timing, warning him of drones approaching from blind spots. Left side 2 o'clock, she shouted. Ethan adjusted the ship narrowly, avoiding the drones as they exploded against nearby rocks. Good call, he said, heart pounding. Keep it up. Hours passed in tense maneuvering. The asteroid field, once a natural obstacle, became their ally. The Imperial cruiser was large and cumbersome, unable to navigate the tight passages as efficiently as Ethan's smaller ship. Using every twist and turn, every rock and shadow, they kept just out of reach. Finally, Ethan spotted a narrow tunnel that twisted deep into the field. This is our chance, he yelled. Follow me. Leora guided the ship carefully through the tight corridor, holding her breath. The cruiser tried to follow but struck a jagged rock formation, sending sparks flying across its hull. Ethan exhaled in relief. For now, they had survived. They emerged into the system's inner orbit, where a deserted planet awaited. The archives were said to be buried deep within its surface, hidden in caverns long forgotten by the Empire. Ethan landed the ship carefully in a small clearing, surrounded by jagged cliffs. Leora stepped out, taking a deep breath of the alien air. This place, it feels old, she said softly. I think I've been here. In my memories. Ethan raised an eyebrow. Memories? You sure about that? She nodded. It's faint, like a whisper, but I remember tunnels, stone walls, a hidden chamber. Maybe the archives are here. Together they moved cautiously through the rocky terrain, avoiding sensors and patrol drones that might still be searching the sector. Ethan led, using his experience to navigate safely, while Leora kept her eyes and ears open for anything unusual. Hours later, they found the entrance to the hidden archives. The cavern was massive, carved from the planet's stone, with intricate symbols etched into the walls. Leora's eyes widened. This is it. I remember these markings. Ethan nodded. Then let's see what secrets they hold. Inside, rows of ancient consoles and databanks lined the cavern. Leora approached one, running her hands over the controls with a familiarity that surprised Ethan. I can access them, she said softly. It's as if they're waiting for me. The screens flickered to life, displaying records of the Empire's leadership, maps of star systems, and histories of the royal family. Leora's pulse quickened as she absorbed the information. Names, dates, events, everything matched fragments of her memory. And then she saw it. A portrait of a young girl with green-patterned skin, dressed in ceremonial robes, standing in a grand hall. The resemblance was undeniable. It was her. Ethan watched her reaction carefully. Leora, it's real. You're the heir. Tears filled her eyes. I can't believe it. I thought I was just a slave, forgotten. But this proves it. I'm not ordinary. I belong here. Ethan placed a hand on her shoulder. And now they'll know too. The Empire won't let this go. They'll come for you. And soon. Leora swallowed hard. I don't know if I'm ready. I've never been trained to rule. I don't even know who I can trust. You don't have to do it alone, Ethan said. We'll figure it out together. Right now, survival comes first. We get you out of here safely, and then we plan the next move. As they studied the archives, they discovered messages hidden in encrypted files. Leora's family had tried to protect her from a coup within the Empire. She had been taken and hidden as a slave to keep her alive. But her survival was always a secret, known to only a few loyalists. The Empire's current leaders had assumed she was lost forever, but now they would stop at nothing to capture her. We have to move, Ethan said firmly. If they track this system, we could be trapped. Leora nodded, determination replacing fear. Then let's go. We can't stay here. But now I know who I am, and I won't run forever. Ethan smiled. That's the spirit. Courage, intelligence, and now knowledge. That's a combination that can't be stopped easily. They prepared the ship for takeoff, but as they launched, sensors picked up multiple Imperial ships emerging from the outer rim of the system. It was an ambush. Ethan's jaw tightened. They knew where we were going. They set a trap. Leora steadied herself at the controls. Then we'll fight smart, like before. Ethan nodded. Exactly. Use the asteroid field as cover. I'll follow your lead this time. The next battle was intense. The Imperial ships were relentless, firing lasers, missiles, and intercept drones. But Ethan and Leora worked in perfect coordination, dodging attacks, using decoys, and striking with precision. Their small ship, agile and fast, gave them an advantage against the larger, more powerful fleet. Hours of cat-and-mouse maneuvers tested their skill and endurance. Leora's instincts and memory of Imperial tactics allowed her to anticipate enemy moves. Ethan's improvisation and experience kept them alive. Slowly, they began to outmaneuver the ambush, turning the enemy's strategy against them. Finally, after a daring series of maneuvers through the asteroid field, they escaped the ambush. The Imperial ships, damaged and frustrated, retreated, leaving Ethan and Leora to continue their journey. Exhausted but alive, they floated in the quiet of space. Leora's hands shook as she processed everything. I can't believe I survived that. And yet, I feel stronger now. I know who I am, and I know I can't hide forever. Ethan placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. You're not just surviving anymore. You're fighting with purpose, and purpose changes everything. Leora looked at him, a small smile forming. Then let's keep moving. There's more to do, more to learn, and more to reclaim. Ethan nodded. Exactly. The galaxy won't wait for us, and neither should we. As they set a course toward distant systems, a new determination filled them both. Leora had discovered her identity and the truth of her heritage. Ethan had witnessed her growth from a frightened slave to a determined, intelligent leader. Together, they were no longer just fleeing. They were preparing to face the Empire on their terms, using courage, strategy, and the unique ingenuity that made humans extraordinary. Outside the viewport, the stars stretched endlessly, silent witnesses to their journey. Inside the ship, a fragile partnership had transformed into a powerful alliance, and for the first time, both knew that the next challenge, whatever it might be, would be faced together, and they would not fail. The galaxy was vast, dangerous, and unpredictable. But Ethan and Leora had learned that survival, courage, and intelligence could turn even the darkest situations into victories. And as the ship sailed into the unknown, a sense of hope and inevitability hung in the air. The Empire had underestimated them, and soon it would realize that the girl they thought lost had returned, and she was ready. The journey through the outer systems was tense. Ethan and Leora moved with precision, keeping their course hidden from the Empire's sensors. But now they were no longer running just to survive. They were running to prepare. Leora had discovered her true identity as the heir of the Empire, and with knowledge came responsibility. "We can't hide forever," Ethan said as he checked the ship's systems. "At some point we have to face them. You can't reclaim your place if you stay in the shadows." Leora nodded, her eyes filled with determination. "I know, but I need a plan. I can't just confront them blindly." Ethan smiled faintly. "Then we'll make one. But first, we need allies. Do you remember anyone from your past who might help us?" She shook her head. I remember faces, not names. But I remember loyalty. Some people stayed behind, protecting me. If they're alive, they might help now." Ethan nodded. "Then we find them. And if they've waited this long, they're worth trusting." They plotted a course toward one of the hidden worlds Leora remembered from her fragmented memories. It was a remote planet, shielded from the Empire, where some loyalists had been rumored to take refuge. The journey was long, but the silence between them was comfortable. Leora spent her time studying the archives she had accessed, memorizing strategies, laws, and secrets of the Empire. Each new piece of knowledge gave her more confidence. When they arrived, the planet's surface was rugged and untouched, a perfect place to hide and regroup. They landed in a secluded valley, and the two of them moved cautiously toward an old settlement. Leora's heart raced. Faces from her memories appeared among the locals, older, hardened by time, but loyal. "Leora," one of them whispered in awe, "we thought you were lost forever." Leora stepped forward. I survived, and now I need your help. The Empire still hunts me, and I can't reclaim my place alone." The loyalists exchanged glances. Then one stepped forward, bowing slightly. "We are with you. We have waited for this day. Whatever it takes, we will stand by you." Ethan watched quietly, impressed. The loyalty of these people was remarkable. He realized that in any battle, trust and unity were often more powerful than weapons. "Good," he said. "Then let's plan. The Empire will not stop until they have you, but together we can turn the tables." Over the next few cycles, they trained and prepared. Leora studied strategies, learned to command, and trained in tactics with Ethan and the Loyalists. She discovered that her instincts were sharp, her mind quick, and her ability to inspire others was strong. Slowly, fear gave way to confidence. She was no longer a girl hiding from the Empire. She was the heir who could challenge them. Finally, the day came. Imperial scouts had discovered their location. Ethan and Leora prepared to confront them. "This is it," Ethan said. "We face them together. Remember everything you've learned and trust your instincts." Leora nodded, standing tall. "I'm ready." The Imperial fleet descended, massive and imposing. But Leora's forces were ready. Using the terrain to their advantage, they struck with precision. Ambushes, traps, and clever maneuvers slowed the Imperial advance. Leora led from the front, her courage inspiring those around her. Every move she made demonstrated intelligence and skill beyond her years. Ethan fought alongside her, using his knowledge of tactics and human ingenuity to outmaneuver the Empire. Together they created confusion among the attackers, turning the ambush into a trap for the Empire. Hours passed in intense combat. Leora coordinated attacks, giving orders that blended strategy and instinct. Ethan's ship darted through the battlefield, delivering critical strikes and providing support. Slowly, the Empire's forces began to falter, unable to anticipate the tactics of the small but determined team. Finally, the Imperial commander called for retreat, recognizing that they had underestimated Leora and her allies. Ethan and Leora watched the fleet disappear into the distance. Victory was theirs, but it was more than just survival. It was the beginning of a new era. Leora turned to Ethan, a mixture of relief and triumph in her eyes. "We did it. We actually did it." Ethan smiled. "You did it. You led, you fought, and you inspired. I just helped keep us alive." She laughed softly. "I couldn't have done it without you." Ethan shook his head. "You could have. But together we were unstoppable. That's the truth. Humans and others working together. It's what makes a difference." As they stood in the quiet aftermath, the Loyalists gathered around Leora. "You are our heir," one said, "and we will follow you wherever you lead." Leora took a deep breath, feeling the weight of responsibility. Then we will rebuild together. The Empire will not forget what happened here. But we will show them that courage, intelligence, and unity are stronger than fear and oppression. Ethan watched her, admiration growing. The girl he had rescued, once afraid and uncertain, was now a leader. She was strong, capable, and wise. She carried hope not just for herself, but for the galaxy. Days later, Leora addressed her loyalists. "We have survived, we have fought, and we have learned. The Empire believed I was gone, that hope was lost. But we are here. We will reclaim what is ours, and we will do it together." The crowd cheered, their loyalty and determination evident. Leora smiled, feeling a sense of belonging she had never known. She was no longer a slave hiding in fear. She was the heir of the Empire, a symbol of courage and a beacon of hope. Ethan stood beside her, silent but proud. "You've changed everything," he said softly. "And you helped me believe I could," Leora replied. "We survived, and now, we lead." The galaxy was vast and full of challenges, but Ethan and Leora had learned a vital truth. Survival was not enough. Courage, intelligence, unity, and determination could change the course of fate, and together, human and alien, they would shape the future. Outside, the stars shone bright, silent witnesses to the triumph of determination over oppression. Inside the hidden valley, hope had returned. Leora had reclaimed her identity, her power, and her purpose. The Empire might still pose a threat, but she was no longer afraid. She was ready. Ethan smiled at her, proud of the journey they had taken together. "The galaxy better watch out," he said with a laugh. "Humans and their allies are just getting started." Leora laughed too, a sound filled with freedom and strength. "Yes, and together, nothing can stop us." As they looked out over the valley, the sun rising over jagged cliffs, a new era began. The girl who had been enslaved was now the heir of an empire. The human who had risked everything to save her had helped change history. And the galaxy, vast and dangerous, was ready to witness the courage, intelligence, and resilience of humanity, and the allies who stood beside them. For Leora, the journey had transformed from survival to leadership. For Ethan, it had been a lesson in trust, bravery, and the incredible potential of those who refused to be broken. And for the galaxy, it was a reminder that courage, unity, and cleverness could outshine even the mightiest power. The Empire would remember this day. They had underestimated a girl, underestimated humanity, and underestimated the bonds of trust and courage. And that mistake would echo across the stars for generations. Together, Ethan and Leora looked to the future, not with fear, but with determination. The galaxy was wide, the challenges many, but their resolve was unbreakable. And with that, a new chapter began, full of hope, adventure, and the promise of a brighter, freer future.